Hey Ravi. Hello, Ravi. Is my voice audible? Okay. I think it's 8:01. Uh, let's get going. I'm sharing my screen. Hey Vinod, is my voice audible? Vinod, Ravi, are you able to see my screen? Ravi or Vinod, anyone out of you? Okay, now there are two Ravi Shankars. Uh, is my voice audible to you guys? Okay, so my screen is also visible. You guys can unmute and speak. Okay, that's cool. So we started this series on AZ-204. We'll be starting AZ-201 couple months down the lane, including the architectural AZ-305 series. So first of all, let me set up the context. Like, what is that? Why is that we are starting with labs first? Because we could have started with theory, but having done with some hands-on will give us more confidence when we are getting into a particular topic. So we started in this mode where we start directly doing the things and we discuss on the fly. Then we come back and we go get deep into the weeds in the syllabus and do some extra practice. So today's topic is lab one. You can see this. This is the meetup group. I don't know why the meetup group is not visible. Okay, there you go. It's coming. And we are doing the microservice series also. So alternate every month we'll have we have sessions for AZ-204 and microservices. Very shortly, I'll be starting AZ-104 also. So we'll be having every month one session for 104, one session for 102, and one session on microservice, so that we are tackling all the places. And May 17th, please mark the date that we are combining the lab 1 and lab 2, and we'll improvise and with additional tips and tricks, because as of now we'll go with the rules of the game, like with the book, whatever is there in this one, we'll follow this. And in the next month's session, where we will have an improvised version of this demo, 1 and 2, lab 1 and lab 2. So what are we going to do is today's thing is on processing logic. How do we implement processing logic using Azure Functions? So here is the architectural diagram. We can see that there are there's a function app which hosts multiple function, and the app service plan is ASP serverless. That means Y1. That's the dynamic plan. I'll show you what is the difference between that app service plan and something else. And that will be the truly serverless. We'll discuss more once we are creating it. And the function app is backed up with a compute power with app service plan. And then we have the application insights where we can go and verify this. And also we have the storage account, and we have the content which we will upload it. We will see that we'll create all these things. So without any further delay, let's go and create it. Okay, I'll give you a simple tip. We'll do a lot of deep dives into this each topic. So this is timer trigger. So let's start creating and let's speak about those things. Okay. So first thing is we need to create a storage account. At this point of time, we don't even have the resource group. So first what we will do is we'll create the resource group. I'm using the same resource group which I created for the previous one. Okay, there are other demos I do have. I don't want to discuss that at this point of time and derail this discussion. If you see, we can do a deep dive on the durable function and function with multiple services that we will do in next month episode, where we are doing where we will be doing the improvised version of the demos, right? So let's stick to the game plan today. So if you see that there is nothing in here, the first thing is we will need to create a resource group. That resource group is here. We will create a storage account. Okay. So this storage account is especially it is for the functions storage account. So let's go ahead and create the storage account, and Azure resource, Azure resources naming convention. Okay. So this guy gave a lot of thought how to name everything. So I generally go not exactly on this, but mostly I use this kind of naming convention. Like if you see resource group, I'll start with RG. Like for the storage account, it is ST. So something of that kind, I am very much inclined towards that, and I strongly encourage like we should follow these naming convention, because this is very helpful. And also if you see that they have given tons and tons uh, of the examples also here, how should everything be named in this one. So I generally use this one. Okay, let's keep this naming convention. And let's start with the storage. There are multiple ways we can do. One thing, we'll go through this one, or you can come here through the categories and search what you want. But I'm selecting this storage account here. I'm clicking on create. Ensure that it is being created in the same resource group, not on something else. So I'm selecting the lab one. And generally ST is a name which it suggests to use. ST Func Store. Okay, ST Func Store, April 4th, 2023. Just to be a little bit unique, I should be fine with the standard. I don't need, because this is just an experiment which we are doing here. And we have selected this basic information, and we will navigate to the advanced. So let's keep all these things as it is. Will not touch. We'll come back, and we will learn few things in the next demo, where we are doing in the next episode, the lab 3 or 4, where it is very specific to the storage account. But as of today, its main focus is Azure Functions. So let's stick to the game plan. So we'll keep everything as it is, and I'll keep everything as it is as of today. And tag, I'll just do a review and create. Please ensure that once it runs the validation, you please go back and validate what is that you made the selection. Sometimes what happens is, without even we knowing, we might select something else, some other option which might cost little more than what we expected. So let's keep it as it is. So let's keep this, and I'm creating the storage account. So here, if you see that the storage account is being created, and one important thing we have to focus here is, when we create the storage account, for us, it is broadly one resource. We said that, okay, I'm creating a storage account, but what is that which are getting created under the hood is that we are going to see now. So the first thing is, it's creating Microsoft storage account / storage accounts. If you go to the, come back to the deployments and just do a refresh, see that if you see here, even though we created a storage account, under the hood, it created storage accounts and storage accounts blob service, storage account and file service. You can click on the operation details to get deep into the weeds to check that it took 32 seconds to create the storage account, and that's the name which we have given. And if I go to verify the blob services, it took 33 seconds, and the type is storage account / blob services. And for the file services, if you see that, it took again 33 seconds, and this is the file service, right? So we know, we at least we did a little bit of deep dive, if not more deep. At least at a high level, we went and we verified that what is that it is getting created. So we have achieved the first piece, first task. And in this first task, we have created this, right? So we have created this. Let me switch back to this. Something which I can do it from here, I will do it from here. Something which I need to do it from the box, I'll do it from the box. I trust the authors. Now let's go to the next phase. We created this. That was task 1, task 2. We created it. That's East US LRS, exactly whatever the option, and we did the review create. And then once it is done, go to the overview blade, and we need to get the access keys. Okay, we can get the access keys a little later. It's not unnecessarily we need to hold it. Then we need to create a function app. On the Azure portal navigation, we need to go. We need to search for a function, and it gives us a function app, and we need to create a function app. Now we will select the subscription and resource group, and the function name. What is that? There are 3 kinds of function which we are creating it here. One is echo, one is get settings info. That means it reads the settings JSON and it spits it out. One is the recurring. So I assume we are doing the echo function now. So let's go and check this echo function. So it's doing some experiments. Let me close all these things so that we'll get some extra space. Let me quickly come back over here, labs 002 solution and func. And here is the function where you can see that's an echo function. and this is the recurring, which is timer triggered. And you can see that echo is HTTP triggered, and get info, get settings info, that's again a HTTP triggered, and also it has got mapping to Blob. So that means it will go and read this. We'll get deep into the weeds. Just give me a couple minutes. We'll go one by one, and also you can see that what is there in the local settings. So we'll create this one. Let's come, because until we deploy that, there is no point recreating this. So what is that? We call it as Func Lab 2, something like that. Okay, we need to deploy also. So let's see what is that it's being created. We'll create it. We have to get the access keys at this point of time. Let's not worry about the access keys. We'll come back to that one. So we need to get the function app. So I will search for function app. I got the function app over here. I'm clicking on create. So let's see that we need to get we need to go click on a create, and then we need to select the subscription and resource group. Subscription is this, and the resource group is this one. So I'll call the same thing AZ-204 lab 2. We'll start with Func. Okay, Func AZ-204 lab 2. Let's keep it as it is. And then we need to select the publish section. Here in this publish section, we need to select the code. It's not container, it is code. That's what we have selected. And from the runtime stack, you can see that we have selected the .NET. And what all the other options do we have? LST or the short-term release. So we'll go with the long-term release. And East US is the region, and the operating system, let's select the Linux as it's suggested over here. And here you can see that there are multiple, I told that there are multiple things we have to focus here. One is consumption model, one is function, premium, and app service model. So consumption model, when do you need to choose consumption model versus when do you need to choose the app service model? We'll come back to this one. As of now, let's compare between those two. So if you see the consumption, the serverless model. So serverless model is something where you don't know the defined number of calls it makes. I was having a glass of water. That means when the load is unpredictable, you can start with this consumption model, serverless. Assume that throughout the day, you are getting only 10 calls. And in a month, only 300 calls. So for this, if you take an app service of standard where you need to pay some huge amount, so it doesn't make that much sense to pay. If let's assume, I just wanted to show you that. Explore the pricing. Let's go to the pricing and see that. The basic plan, if you see that, the basic plan, you're getting 100 Azure compute units, 1 vCPU, 1.75 GB of memory, the storage, but you need to spend 947 Indian rupees. And similarly, if you dev test and other standard also, if you take that, you need to pay somewhere around 5,500 rupees per month. So if you can justify that you're getting these many calls, you can select the app service plan. But if you don't know how much it's going to charge, or how many calls you're going to hit, then better start with this serverless plan. Then you understand the pattern. Then if the serverless plan matches app service plan and you need this much of computing power, then you can go ahead. But as of now, when the load itself is unpredictable, start with this one. You can see that event based. Okay, this is also event based scaling. Additionally, you're getting network isolation needed for workloads like continuously running. So this app service plan is a dedicated environment, but you need to have a predictable workloads. I mean, predictable number of hits to that one, because you are paying $5,000 per month, and assume that on every Saturdays and Sundays you are getting only 1 or 2 calls to these Azure function. So unnecessarily you're paying, isn't it? In a month, minimum 8 days are there, like 4 Saturdays and 4 Sundays minimum. So 8 days you're not even receiving any call, or maximum 1 or 2 calls in that. So in that 8 days, you're getting very, very less call or zero calls, because 1 or 2 calls here is very negligible. But still, you're paying for that 8 days, because the $5,500 is for 30 days or 31 days. But 8 days in every month, weekends, you're not at all getting call. So does it make that much sense or benefit to go ahead with the app service plan? No. In that case, use consumption plan. So when you need this fully isolated, dedicated environment where the load itself is predictable, you know that how many calls in a day comes, and you were able to justify the amount you're paying. You need to do the uh, pros and cons of choosing which hosting plan. I'm not telling that definitely go with consumption or serverless plan, but start with that. And as and when, based on your needs, you can go ahead further. So if you see that this is the one April 4th, 2023, that's what we have created. And let's come in. Networking, we will keep it. And monitoring, let's have this one. Create the application inside. And deployment, let's do a disable, because as of now we will not do any continuous integration and continuous deployment. Let's leave it as it is. So let's go ahead and create it. Hey Ravi, go ahead, Ravi.
Hi, Swamy. Question. If when we are, let's say, we are planning for a new function app, and we already have an existing app service. At the time, question like, can we move the app and the application load is predictable? Can we share in the same app service plan, or in that case, should we go with the serverless? I know serverless, we will get some free calls up to 1 million, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, this one. There are multiple things, Ravi, we have to consider before.
Okay.
Okay, the first of the thing which I will bring in onto the table is, when you have an app service plan, that app service plan means it's a defined, a promise to give you a defined set of uh, computing power, right?
Right. Right.
That's what we were seeing, that's a defined set of computing power.
Right.
Now, when we are when we want to share, assume that that app service plan would have had some other web apps already, I'm assuming,
Right.
that have already been shared. But here
Right.
the app service plan has got this much of hardware, or hardware and memory, CPU and everything. What will happen is, when you bring in this serverless or this function app into the same app service plan, and there is a heavy load on that, what it this app function app might chew up the memory or CPU, and it might bring down the existing apps inside your app service plan, isn't it? Here, if you see that,
That is right.
right, isn't it? So,
That is right.
I,
That is right.
yeah, so I always suggest is to keep them separate, because we never know that the load itself is unpredictable, isn't it? Every time you see some application is crashing. Why? Because it's going more than the predictable load. So just to be on a safer side, I would suggest that start your Azure function with the serverless mode. Understand, keep a watch on that, understand how many hits are coming in and what is the concurrent number of hits. Then you will understand the pattern, like how the users are coming in. Then you can, if you feel that the business needs the app service plan, take a separate app service plan and host this function app there. Mixing the web apps and function apps, there is no harm, but for me, I see uh, it as a critical piece. If both are critical components, like web API is also as important as Azure function app, and you married both of them to the same app service plan, if one guy is chewing up memory or RAM, it might bring
Mhm.
down the other one. So I would suggest to start with serverless, and once you understand the pattern and you feel that you might need to go with the app service plan, take a separate app service plan and deploy the Azure function there. That's my take.
Yeah, that helps, Swamy. Thanks.
Okay. So, uh, yeah, we have this Azure function here. Now we have to discuss few other things, that uh, why do we need this storage account? Why do we need this application insight, and why do we need other things? So we'll dig deeper into all these things. So as of now, I have to definitely show you something here. When you go to the containers, this will be a wonderful place if we are doing the durable function. You will definitely love this a lot. But let's at least to a decent extent do a at least a 30,000 foot dive here. You see that Azure Web Job Host and SCM releases. So internally, what do we understand is whatever the Azure function we deploy it, those will come and get deployed, and those binaries will be here. We will see that very shortly here. Okay, so let's go to the next phase of let's go to the next phase of that. Hey, you can please feel free to unmute. Yvonne, greetings. You're from US or some other place? But please feel free anytime you have any query I want to discuss. Ravi, for you also, just
Sure.
please feel free to unmute and speak, because I'll be going ahead to do this demo, but I'm always open for Q&A. So
Sure.
we created this one. So now what we will do is we need to configure a local Azure function project. First, we will create an Azure function project, and then we can go ahead with this. There are multiple ways to create this Azure function. I will show there is Func CLI tool. So you can use this Func tool to create it. Or if you have if you have this Azure function, uh, Azure function. So here itself, we can go ahead and we can see that those function apps, the one which we have created, see here, we can go ahead and see here, and we can happily deploy it right from here. We can go ahead and deploy the things, like deploy to Azure function. We can do all these things, or we can create it with the Visual Studio 2022 or any version of that. So let's come back to this one, and let's create a new new project. And you have Azure Functions over here. I will select that Azure function. What is the name we have chosen for that? So let's take the same name just to be on the safe side. It's the same solution here. So I'm here. So let me go ahead and check this. Go to the file explorer. Do I have a folder where I can create it? Inside this. Repos. I think I'll create it here into the repos. I'll create it in repos. That's it. Pretty cool. Let's go to next. And let's use the .NET 6 long-term support. And the type of trigger is very, very important. So are there any more queries? Okay, Ravi. So the type of thing is very important. We have already selected that. And here the function is the triggered based. If you come and scroll here, it says that it is creating a function with HTTP triggered. The name is echo. So we can also call this as echo, but at this point of time, let's go ahead and use Azurite and start with this. I'm creating the first Azure function. So it creates the function app and one Azure function. So we will see one by one and we will go ahead and we will deploy. So let me close all the tabs. Close all the tabs and first open this one guide. And you can see that this is bringing in all those packages. It will take some time to go get the packages. Then you see those warnings or the triangle symbol disappears. And let's call this as echo. We have that here itself, is it right? We call that as an echo. And also, I think we can call the Azure function over here. We can call that as with the same name, or we can have the different name, but let's be in sync. Let's call this echo.cs. Okay, and the function also we call it as echo. We'll be doing a little bit deviation from what it is. And if you see that we have both at this point of time, the authorization list is function level. We have get and post, right? So if you see here, it is HTTP triggered. It's only allowing post. It is not allowing the get request. So it is logging the information and returning the request body. So let's follow the same thing. But as of now, let's see what is that and how can we execute it. So it's coming in here and it's checking for a query name. If it doesn't find, it checks in the body and then it deserializes and sends the message based on this one. So the key thing here is the local settings. We are using the use development storage and the function runtime is .NET. Apart from that, we have the host.json. We'll speak about it in the next episode. So we have 25 minutes plus to complete our another 2 demos, and also we need to deploy to Azure Function and check from there. So we have a lot of things to do. So let's go and verify it locally before we go any further. I'll also open the Postman. So it says allow. Okay. So you see this console, it shows that what is the endpoint. Okay, what is the endpoint? The endpoint is this one, and also it shows what methods it supports, get and post, both the methods it's going to support. So let me go ahead and close all these things. And do I already have for Azure function? No, I don't. So I'll keep it as it is. Let's come back to this one. Let's hit it through get. So when you hit this one, you can see that it went and hit it, and it is giving the response because I didn't give anything as part of the name. I gave the name, and here it says that hello Srivar, this was a HTTP trigger. Suppose if I want to test it with post, I don't need to pass this, but I need to pass the body, and it's what is this it is expecting. So it is getting into the body and it expects name. So what we need to do is come back over here and go to the JSON and name Ivan, and you can try this. Okay, so I will delete that. So if it is not there in the header, it's getting it from the body. So that's the logic, right? If it is not going, if it's not getting in the query string, it looks into the body. Okay, and it is giving the response message. So what we will do is, apart from our own thing, let's improvise that a little bit. I mean, not too very much, but we are supporting both the methods, and see how can we improvise the response message. We received the logger. Did I miss the logger? Okay, it's coming in as part of this one. So we can take the iLogger also. I think we are logging, isn't it? Oh, okay, then only the name is log, it's not logger. So we'll add that one, and the request body is there. So request body, what we will do is we can add to this here in the name. Here we'll call it as body, what has come. Just a small improvisation. It's not a big deal. I don't say that this is a improvisation, but body. Okay. We don't need this because that's what the message which is coming in here. Let me go to analyze, clean up. So all the unwanted usings and the spacing, everything is taken care. Now let's execute this one more time. So let's see. It shows that. So let's use only post. So see that it has come and this body of response is being there sent. Either we can do that, or we can, as this guy did it here, we can get into the data itself is the body, isn't it? The data itself is body. We can do a little bit of change. We can send that, or we can this is a data object, and that data object itself, just for the time being, that's it. Listening. Let's come and change this rec dot body. I've done two string there. That will be the simplest thing instead of we and changing all these things. Okay. And this is the one, isn't it? Dynamic data. Why don't I send that? That's what we deserialized that object we deserialized. So why do we need to worry about that? So let's quickly go ahead and see this and then directly deploy this to Azure and see that. So if you come and click it, you see that the deserialized object is also being received. We gave both. So let's keep this as it is and stop. Let's deploy this one function to the function app. So if you come and see this, at this point of time, we don't have any functions. So the function app is set of Azure functions. So we have the empty function app. We have our application insights empty. Let's keep it at the live metrics. And also we'll come and see there's nothing in here. We will do a lot of probing into that. But as of now, let's go and deploy this. So I will right mouse click on this and click on publish. There are multiple ways, but I'm showing it in one way. But in the second episode, next month, where we are doing an improvise of lab 1 and lab 2, we'll do that. So here you can see that Azure function can be deployed. Azure functions can be deployed as part of the Windows or Linux or as part of the container. And so let me select this Linux. Let me re-enter the credentials. I think it doesn't need that. But anyways, let's check that. If it needs, it needs. No questions asked. So, okay, so it took my cache credentials, I assume, and I'm here. And in this lab, let's select this, the consumption plan. It clearly shows that, and let's go ahead and finish this. So it created it. So we can come back to show all settings. And you can see all these details here. So if you want to change something, you can change it. But as of now, I think everything is good. And it is also giving the function name and correctly picked up the application insights and everything. So once you're satisfied with all these things, you can click on publish and wait until it publishes. So also coming back to this echo, you can see that this echo can be processed in two different ways. Using get, also using post. So let's see one by one how we can test this once it is deployed. So it's doing a zip deploy. You see that it started the build and it created the build, and what happened? Failed. Let me do a clean. And let me do a build. Let's go ahead and do a publish. So let's see. Publish has started. And again, it's trying to do the zip deploy. Ah, let's check this first. Let me create a new function. Yeah, shouldn't trouble us. Let me check that. Just give me a minute. And what else it is throwing? Error. Both are connected. And let's see the settings. See this one more time, and a very small thing. Wow. I didn't do anything except that remove extra files. So it says that it has succeeded. Let's come and look at this. So you can see that it says the function has been deployed perfectly. So how do you hit this? It's pretty simple. The only thing is the first part will be changing. So this supports both get and post. So what I can do is I can add this and try. It's oh, it's expecting the function code. It's expecting the function code. We'll come back to that one. Let me come back over here and verify. I don't know why it is this much slow to. Where's that? It got deployed it here. There you go. Echo. And we can come here to click on code and test. And under the code and test, we have multiple tools we can do from here, as well as we'll go and do it from perform that from the Postman tool also, so that from anywhere you will be able to test it. For some reason, I think my net is slow or what, I don't know, but it is pretty much taking longer than what it used to take. So let's see that. So here you can see that the bindings and other things. So let's keep it as it is. And let's go and click on that. So either you can do get method or post method, because we wanted supported both. So let's add the query string. The query string name is name, and I'm typing. Last time we gave Ivan, so this time we'll try Ravi. Okay, this is we'll use it for this one. We'll use it for post. So one we tried. So it says that hello Ravi. So you can see that it comes in here. The other way, what we can do is we can get the function URL, and here you can see the default. That's the function key. That's what the authorization it expects. So I can get this function key and come back here and drop it here on the URL. The entire URL, I'm dropping it here. So it clearly says that it is asking us to pass the name, because we just passed it, the function code, but we didn't pass the name. So here I'm passing Ivan and I'm concerned. So this time it works. So I go to the Postman, and that's what we tried. Let's use a separate tab, and then when I type it, Ivan, it is perfectly coming. So if I don't want to pass the name as the get method, I can do that also. I will remove that and just send. So now it's not specifying Ivan's name, but I can change that from get method to post method, and select body and select raw, and from the drop down select JSON, and here I'll pass name. Oh, no, stop. So if I don't pass the function code, see this, the entire body is being written. So whatever we are passing. Now if I add age equal to 21, so one is string, one is numeric, and is mgr equal to true. So I'm passing the mix of primitive types, string, integer, as well as boolean, but the entire object also we are splitting it, as well as we are extracting the name from that. See this, even though if I'm sending name 1, which is not it is expecting, so in that case it goes to the else block. So the values it is expecting to be properly passed, and then you expect the output. So this was the first one. So let's quickly do the third one. The second one, the timer triggered one, might take a little bit more time, but we will see that what is that we will be doing. But in the meanwhile, I wanted to show you something very important, is the application map. We definitely will revisit this in the next episode. At this point of time, see this, we are not speaking to anything. Once we started speaking to the storage account, we'll see another icon here, and calls going in from the function app to this, that will be there. As well as now if we come to the live metrics, as many calls as we make, that every call, the data is temporary. Oh, God. So actually what will happen is it will show the live metrics, like how many calls are coming in, and how the data is being pumped in, and what is the response for each of the call, everything. See this, how many calls we made it. So there were 8 requests, and there were these many traces, and what was thing which was coming in as input, what is that which is going as output, everything will get tracked. And the application map is my favorite tool, because this is what it gives us a bigger picture. Apart from that, let's come and do a refresh on the SEM releases. You see that there was a release which we made it. It is being tracked, and you can see that the zip file which we sent it. And also you can come in and you can check the other folders to see that those host files and everything are there. Like these are the keys of the kingdom, or wealth of knowledge. It is storing, and it is having the blob storage. If you come to the blob storage, you see that now you see an extra folder, Azure Web Job Secrets. This wasn't existing previously. Only logs, the web jobs host, and SCM releases were there. Now there's an extra folder, as well as you can get into this logs folder or this SCM to do deep dive into that. You can see, you can get into this zip folder, download it, and check what is the content of that. And also you can see the secrets is the same host file, which we have seen, that the echo JSON and host file. Inside that echo JSON, you can get deep into the weeds to find out what is the content of that. But the blob storage is the storage account why we created. Now you should be able to correlate. Okay, whatever the Azure functions we use, it needs a blob storage or the storage account to be backed up for multiple reasons. You see that all the files which you create, you see, if you go to the site root, you are having it. Okay, that means this is being hosted somewhere, isn't it? This is being hosted somewhere, and you can see the log files, and everything will be here. And how do you prove? It's not proof, but how can we ensure whatever we are seeing belongs to us? Is that we have backed up ourselves with the function app, and that we are seeing the number of calls we are making in. Like if I come in to this one and make many number of calls, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then, oh, I'm sorry, I need to come here. So if I do a refresh, technically the data should be there. You see that 9 calls, it is showing there are 9 calls here. And let's see if we have a data. So this will be a wonderful place to keep a watch when two different teams are doing the integration. Okay. So I think I planned 3 demos, but I can do one more demo out of 3. Ravi and Ivan, do you guys have 15 minutes more? We can go ahead and do another demo.
I'm good.
Okay, so good means you're good to stay. And
Yeah, I can stay.
Okay, cool. Ivan? Ivan? I don't know how to pronounce. I mean, different people pronounce. Some people, they say that Ivan, and some people, they call it as Ivan. So how do you pronounce your name? Okay, so let's assume silence is acceptance. So let's go ahead and follow the next demo. So the second demo, I'm not doing it because we have to create more infrastructure. So that's the reason I'm create a schedule trigger, because the schedule trigger, what happens is the schedule trigger will not work here, even if we create. Let's see this. I don't know whether it silently accepts it, or if you want to create a function. So the plan what we have selected, the consumption plan will not work. It definitely needs an app service plan. So just to save our time, I'm just directly jumping onto the third demo. We will come back with the timer triggered in the next episode. This integration service is what we will create. So in that we already have a storage account, and the storage account container, in the data storage section, container, create a container, and the container name is content. So let's go here. So we already have containers, and add a container, and the container name is content. And public access, select private, no anonymous access. That means no one else can access this until they have the access keys. So the access keys are keys of the kingdom, which we are not going to hand over to anyone else. So they are safe as long as we are not handing over to anyone. So now what we can do is we can go to the starter files over here in the lab section, whatever these folks, the Microsoft has given. Let's go there and pick up this here and come back, and let's upload, browse, override if exist. I mean, I know that this is the first time we are doing, but got habituated to do these kind of things. So we do have this inside the settings file. So that's one step. Now we need to create we don't need to go through the entire process because we already created one Azure function with one function. So let's reuse the same function app to host another function. I mean, we can create it if it is makes sense, or if it is logically doing the same set of job or same sub function or same module, you can host it. I mean, if it is an entire different thing, so please, I suggest create a separate function app. Just that a function app can support multiple Azure function. Let's not do that. Okay. Let's do add a new Azure function. There's a clipboard. I need to pick it in. That's a little painful, but I'm fine. Azure function and get settings info, and see this. It's giving us a ton of choice, but what we need is simple HTTP trigger template. So select HTTP trigger template and authorization. Let's keep it the function level. And once we come back to this one, this is what we have already seen it. It should be exactly like this. Okay. And the simple thing, what we are trying to do is we have to return the value or the content which is there inside the blob storage. So we should have a binding. So what is that binding means? If I come back to this one, if I go to any of this Azure function, you can see when we go to this integration piece. So each Azure function, if you see, each of the Azure function will have one trigger, exactly one trigger. And it can have multiple input bindings and one or more. I mean, I'm not telling that definitely it should have bindings, but it could have 0 or more bindings, input bindings. Similarly, it could have 0 or more output bindings. That you will find it in the integration, because just that we pushed it from the Visual Studio, it's not enabling it, but in the demo, in the improvised demo, we will create it. If you go, I would like to show that. That's a very good point. If we come back to the previous resource groups, I mean the one which I did it last year, and I think this is what it is. Yes, see this here. There are a lot of Azure functions hosted it here, and you can come to the function apps, and you can read from service bus queue. Now, read from service bus queue. If you go to the integration tab, so you're seeing that the trigger, input binding, output binding, each are different. Now, there is one good reason to start the Azure function, that is one trigger. So here you have one output binding, but no input binding. So let's go to the another scenario, read from blob. So this itself should give us some int that this function might be getting an input binding. In the previous example where we have seen that had a output binding. But always remember that there's only one trigger. There's one good reason to start it. Okay, so if you see that read from means, that means there itself there is a binding which is happening inside. So that means it's part of the input binding. Let's get into the code. Even though it's a Node.js code, it will be very easy to understand. If you see that index.json, so see the context and my blob, it's a blob triggered. So it says that context data binding blob trigger. So someone is triggering it. This is a blob trigger, but we are dealing with a different situation. But never mind. So let's come back to the another Azure function, get settings info. Let's follow this guy as it is. So let's what is happening is it's an HTTP trigger, but also we have the binding, and see that in the local settings or in the host settings.json. So we are reading it. So I'll copy that and come back to this. You don't have the blob. Let's get that from this. This is package. Let's take that default package, then come and manage the NuGet package. There might be updated one. We don't need the, this is the one we copied now. Web Java extension storage. So Web Java extension storage. That's the one. So I think we can update. The stable one is 1.1. I hope it will not break down the demo. I mean, just for joking, man. I don't expect any NuGet packages to be bumped up, and SDK, I think it's safe to bump it up to 1.1.3. That's also stable because we are not using any pre-release version. So technically it should not. If it's not working, then at least we'll know that we should not do this while doing the live demo. Okay, jokes apart, let me come back here. See, that's accepting two parameters. One is this HTTP trigger, and that's the input binding. And we have this lambda. Its function is spitting the JSON, which is there. So let me do a compile of this one, restoring the NuGet package. Let me again do, okay, it's bringing in. Let's wait. As you can see that, okay, it gave us the control. Let me do the clean of the build and rebuild this. That's done. And you can see everything is done. And get info settings. We already did that. And we can start it. And we are hitting it. This guy should have told us to update the local settings file because the connection string is there. I think I missed that. Because the blob storage connection settings is there. Technically. That's an HTTP trigger. Yes, we have uploaded that file, but how does the blob storage knows that? We'll go and we'll fix it out. We'll fix that. Don't worry. JSON, the blob type, it is here, and then that's returning. This is the entire file. Register the blob storage. We did that, and terminal, and Okay, one quick thing I would like to check is from the solution. There's the settings, there's a func, and it has got all these things, host.json and local.setting, Azure Web Storage. We'll update it. That should, oh, we don't need to update it because that should be already there. Let's check that first. Let's come back over here to the Azure function. Let's go back to the function app. And inside the function app, we need to scroll up and click on the, we need to click on this configuration. This configuration is always a little bit slow because I think it's getting the information from multiple places. I'm sure on that. It's getting the information from multiple places. It will be here. Instead of waiting on that, let's go and deploy. Let's go and deploy this one. Think of crossing the river when the river comes. So as of now, I don't see any river in front of us. So let's go and run. So let's go and publish it again. So the build started. Let me close this unnecessary windows. Okay, that's cool. So successfully started the function app. So let's come back and see this Azure Web Jobs Storage. And if you click on that, it should definitely have the func store. So it's already been hooked up. So we don't need to worry. We don't need to worry about anything. So now once we come back to the Azure function, let me refresh it. I think it's taking some time for some reason. I don't know. No, I don't know to restart. You see that a lot of other things are being tracked. How many executions are there? And are now this is what we need to focus on. Now see this, there will be a storage account and the call going from function app to storage account. This gives us a live picture. I really love that application map that gives us a good picture. Why is this troubling us? No problem, that should be fine. We love trouble. And you can see that get settings info, and I go to the code and test. Or before that, I'm sorry, I need to step back, and you can see that echo. And we used code and test. We went into the integration also. We didn't come to this monitoring tab. So the monitoring tab is one place. Maybe I didn't select proper selections in the logging, but this monitoring tab will show the different rows for all the executions which we have done. So it gives us the information like when did we call, what was the output, everything it shows it. So let me open the separate tab here, as well as let me go to this and keep this application map open. And here you can see that all the logs. You can come and check the logs here, or you can click on open live metrics. So it will come to this live metrics, but for some reason I understood it's not working. But if not, this is a place where you can get it. So don't give this function keys to anyone, but the code and test is where you can test it, and integration is where you can see that what all the integration points like input binding or output binding, what is the trigger which makes this function execute or kickstart, and monitoring gives you the number of hits and its outcome, everything. I mean, about the logs. I mean, how much logs you have written. Based on that, it gives that. Let's get into this settings. Before going to the code and test, I would like to stop there at integration point. So you can see this. These are the logs. Like it's giving us a decent 14, 12, 5, 3, how many milliseconds it has taken, and what is an operation ID. And you can see all these logs. You can click on that and you see that messages. As and when you add more informational, debug, warning, error, all these things will get tracked here. It's not that you hit it and things are not happening, but things will. So the following bindings are missing, the required directory property and other things. But let's see that. If it is not working, then we will see. But most probably it will work, because we clearly mentioned it, the folder name and everything. Here we said the blob, that's the folder name, and we also gave the connection string details. So I see that it should work. If it is not working, then we will think of crossing this river. See that the binding is there, the blob, everything is given. So let's see that if it is not working. Let's not worry too much. There you go. Whatever was there, we have seen it. The JSON file which we have uploaded, settings.json, as Joseph Price Conteso, the same one. You're seeing exact content. So if you want to test it through the Postman, click on that get function URL, grab this. You can go back to your Postman, create a new tab, and oh Jesus, I need to first paste it here. This is a stopgap one. I'll paste there and then come back and paste it here and click on get settings. There you go. You're able to see that, the beautiful content. So the other one is it needs the timer trigger needs the app service plan. So I think it's now 1 hour 20 minutes. It's not based on the time. It's like we did two different experiments. So let's quickly do a recap. But the third one, timer trigger one, I'm parking it for the improvised version of the demo, where we will. I would like to show that now, where we will be doing 5 different demos. So just for function app, as you have seen that, you will have multiple demos. Like each of this function, you see this one first function app has got set of functions, and second function app will have set of, this is only one. Everything in Node.js, but we'll use the C# also. But each one of these function apps has got integration points with service bus queue and storage queues and blob storages, like you see that. And also the GitHub code tracker is a fantastic one. I mean, someone go and change anything in your GitHub, that will make a call to this HTTP triggered, and everything gets triggered, logged there. That is a fantastic thing, which we're keeping it for the advanced demos. The next will be that. Keep a watch on that. And also please subscribe to my YouTube channel, as well as the meetup group, so where I'll be cutting in all the new events. So please subscribe to that meetup group, and also please and come here. All the videos, there are few live videos which will come in here, and this video I'll upload it by tomorrow. Lab 1 and Lab 2, everything will be here. So please subscribe to this YouTube channel. I'll post it there, and let's see in shortly, because right now what's happening is the plan is 2 to 3 sessions every month, one for AZ-204, one on microservices, and that's a deep dive microservices. And very shortly by June or July, I'm planning AZ-104 certification hands-on tips and tricks too. So you will see one on AZ-104, AZ-204, and microservice. Microservice also I want to keep it in the game, so that's very much interesting topic. Any queries from either Ivan or Ravi?
No, Swamy. We'll review I will go through the lab one more time and I'll do it myself, and we'll let you know if there are any questions probably in this upcoming session.
Sure, that's wonderful. How did you like? Any feedback, positive or negative? Please feel free.
Sure. So far, good. So far, good. I mean, it's just a suggestion. If you can add probably a comment like, what are the common issues that we may encounter when we are working these kind of let's say then labs, that would be helpful if we ran any issues, and also some what do you say, best practices that we can follow. Already you have shown us when we are creating the research group, like what are the naming convention we need to use similar to a storage account, and that would be helpful, like Azure Functions.
Yeah, sure, Ravi. I'll bring in, because the next episode itself is full of action packed. I'll ask it to make it 2 hours instead of 1 hour, because 1 hour is not even enough to complete one demo. Having 6 demos, I definitely need 2 hours. Okay.
Sure. Thanks, man.
Thanks so much, Ravi. You're in US?
Yeah.
Okay. I think we spoke, isn't it?
Yes, we
When
spoke.
you and Harinath were there. Harinath is
Right,
from
right,
Hyderabad.
right.
Okay. Cool then. See you tomorrow, Ravi. I mean,
Yeah,
in the next
yeah,
episode. Thank you so much.
sure.
Bye.
Yeah, thanks, man. Bye. Take care.